Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening. Wherever you are in the world, welcome and thank you for joining us. My name is Carl Anthony and this is AutoVision News live at AutoSens Detroit 2023. We are in the heart of the Motor City, downtown Detroit at the Huntington Place. And we are joined by Javier Salado, Technical Product Manager at Anyverse. Now, Javier has over 30 years of experience in software development, systems integration, and product management. Today, Javier is Anyverse's product technical expert and is the point of contact for applications such as sensor simulation or deep learning training using advanced hyperspectral synthetic data. Javier, welcome to our program. Glad you could be here with us.
Thank you very much, Carl. It's a pleasure to be here with you.
Yeah, Javier, give us an overview of Anyverse. Tell us a little bit about the company.
Right. Yeah, well, Anyverse is a company that was founded in the end of 2018.
Okay.
It's actually a spin-off of a bigger company that's called Next Limit that
Sure.
basically has provided all the technology that we use today in the Anyverse platform. Comes from Next Limit. And the core of that technology is the hyperspectral render that Next Limit has been developing for the last 25 years, approximately. And what Next Limit does now with all this technology is to build a platform with that render at the core, and generate synthetic data for automotive. That's our primary market, I would say, but Anyverse could be used for other segments of the industry as well. So we're here, obviously, in AutoSens, catering for those automotive customers, which are, I would say, 90% of what we cater for.
Right. With the idea of synthetic data, Javier, what do we need to do? What needs to happen in order for synthetic data to be reliable and trustworthy?
Great question. I would say that the validation of synthetic data comes from reducing the domain gap that you can get when training models, AI models that belong to the perception systems. When you train those models with synthetic data, and then you expose those trained models to real-world data, you can get this domain gap where the models don't recognize the reality because you've been training them with some fake or not completely real data. Reducing that domain gap is something that you can do with the Anyverse platform by simulating the sensors. When you simulate the sensors physically, what you get as synthetic data, it's very close to the images that you would get with a real camera. And so if you train your models with synthetic data that uses this sensor simulation, you can basically make sure that when you validate your models, they will be reliable enough because they've been trained with something that is very close to reality. And the key here is that you simulate those sensors. And to simulate those sensors, you need hyperspectral data. And that's in the core of our platform.
Javier, when it comes to different automotive use cases, what are the applications for synthetic data when it comes to the automotive industry?
Anyone that you can think of, we could use synthetic data for it if we can simulate the sensor of that perception, that perception system that caters for some specific use case. Autonomous driving. There is a huge variety of different sensors that autonomous driving uses. All kinds of cameras, LiDAR, radar, etc. So if we can simulate data that those sensors will be using or will be generating, we can basically generate data sets that will train those systems. Inside the car, lately in the last couple of years, we've seen a lot of traction on synthetic data for the in-cabin sensing use case. And the reason is basically because it's more difficult to get real world images of in-cabin use cases. There is privacy issues involved here. If there are children, I come from Europe, and the privacy normative in Europe, it's very strong. And getting real live images for those use cases is very hard. Synthetic data is the answer, because all characters that we use are completely anonymous, and the privacy issues goes away. And at the same time, it allows you to have a lot of variability on the car coverage that you're going to be using, the characters in terms of gender, ethnicity, size, body poses, etc., etc. So those cases, inside, outside the car, as long as we can simulate the sensors and we can provide that extra features that the synthetic data gives you that the real data doesn't, it's where synthetic data shines. And I'm talking about the privacy issues and more variability that you can get from the real world, because it's very expensive to get variability from the real world. You need to rig your cars, find the people who will be doing the inside the car poses, etc. And the variability is very limited there. Or the roads that you are going to be driving on, they're always limited. Like you cannot drive on any type of city, any type of highway. For all the countries that you may be catering these systems for, under all weather conditions, that's another thing that synthetic data actually shines, because we can simulate weather conditions at will. You don't know when it's going to rain, and if your car is going to be ready to go out there to capture data. With synthetic data, you don't have that problem.
Javier, I'm always impressed by you and the work that Anyverse is doing. When it comes to synthetic data, what is on the horizon? What are some of maybe the challenges that are coming in the near future?
For us, the challenges are always improving the simulation that we do of the sensors, of the weather conditions. Make sure that the way we simulate the rain, the snow, the fog is as physically correct as possible, so we can compare apples to apples when you have your synthetic data and your real world data, and they are as close as possible. In sensors, new sensors are coming every single year. We have lots of different sensor vendors here that are presenting new features on their sensors, with the IHDRs, with the anti-flickering sensors that they're putting in the market, and we need to simulate that. And that gives us the challenges that we need to improve our technology further and give service to our customers. At the end of the day, are the ones that are going to be benefiting on all this.
Javier, we have you tagged, we have Anyverse tagged with this LinkedIn broadcast. So I want to encourage all of our viewers and AutoSens attendees to connect with you on LinkedIn. Thank you for being here, Javier, and wish you a great rest of the show. And of course, travels back home, safe travels back home at the end of this week. Thank you for being here.
Thank you very much, Carl. It was my pleasure. Thank you to the audience too.
More to come from AutoSens Detroit here on the AutoVision News LinkedIn page from the Huntington Place in downtown Detroit. I'm Carl Anthony, AutoVision News.